Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Global Industry Spotlight this week. Every week, we talk to entrepreneurs, organizations, people who are building interesting things in the creative industries. You can find these conversations on Spotify. We also stream live to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. My name is Daniel Crane. I'm the program director at the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. You can check out our website at cceglobal.org. We are working and building resources for the creative industries, right? So we aggregate workshops, we create our own workshops, we put together networking events. We talk to entrepreneurs and ask them, what are some of the needs in the industry? It's been great really getting to know on a local level and a global level how people are, approaching the creative industries. But today, which I'm really excited about, is we're going to kind of approach it from an academic standpoint. Our guest, Pablo J. Boczkowski, is the Hamad bin Khalifa Al-Thani Professor in the Department of Communication Studies at Northwestern University. He is the founder and director of the Center for Latinx Digital Media and faculty director of the Master of Science in Leadership for Creative Enterprises program, both at Northwestern, and co-founder and co-director of the Center for the Study of Media and Society in Argentina, a joint initiative between Northwestern and Universidad de San Andrés in Buenos Aires. In 2020, he was named Fellow of the International Communication Association. His research program examines the dynamics of digital culture from a comparative perspective. He is the author of 6 books, 4 edited volumes, and over 50 journal articles. 3 of his books are being published in 2021. One, Abundance, on the experience of living in a world of information plenty. The Digital Environment, How We Live, Learn, Work, and Play Now, and the Journalism Manifesto. I really, my mother is a professor. I admire people who are publishing work, who are doing the research, and will have some insight. So let's bring him into the conversation. Hi, Pablo.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you very much for having me in your program, and thank you for your very kind introduction.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I'm excited. You're the first, academic that we've had on our Global Industry Spotlight, and so it's really great to connect with somebody, who has done the research, who has looked at it, from a micro and a macro level, and kind of sees, what's happening in the creative industries, in digital media. These are really important and future setting things. But before we get into all of that, can you give us a little bit, of your background, and kind of your journey? I know you've been at Northwestern for a while in here, but just a little bit about you.
Excellent, of course. So I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I came to the US in the middle of 1994, first for graduate school at Cornell University. Well, I came for that, and then I ended up staying. When I finished my PhD, I got a job at MIT. In the Sloan School of Management, teaching organizational behavior, the people side of management, if you wish. My specialty since the days of grad school was, the media industry. So after a few years at MIT, I was contacted by Northwestern to see if I wanted to join its faculty to help build a new, exciting interdisciplinary doctoral program on media, technology, and society. And I decided that was an interesting opportunity. The academy is unlike, say, the creative enterprises, is much more slow moving. So the opportunity to build a new doctoral program, help build a new doctoral program, was enticing to me. So I came on board. And I've been here ever since, among other duties, in addition to teaching, research, and number of service commitments. In 2013 or 2014, I was asked if I wanted to be the first faculty director of a new, exciting program that the Dean's Office and a former colleague of mine who was living at the time had designed, the Master of Science in Leadership for Creative Enterprises. Again, it's rare for academic environments, academic institutions to build something new, and that has always enticed me. So I have an entrepreneurial side to myself. So I accepted the invitation to be the first faculty director. I ran it. I helped launch it and run it for the first 3 years. Once the program was sort of steady, after experiencing firsthand what being an entrepreneur actually means, I stepped out of the day-to-day management. I kept teaching in it, but I stepped out of that to focus on finishing one of the books that you mentioned, Abundance. The research was done, but it was a very, very large-scale project, and I needed more time to focus on the writing. And when that was more or less, it wasn't finished, but the first full version was done, the dean at the time asked me if I could step back in at the helm. That was in May 2020. And I agreed. And so now I'm on my second tour of duty running this wonderful program that we have. It's been around for 6 years. Or 7 years, I can't remember. No, it's probably been around now for 7 years. We are, working on our 8th cohort now. Fine tuning the curriculum, right. Doing admissions, and all of that.
Yeah, and I can you give a little overview, of the program? I think, like you said, it is very unique for a university to put a program out like this. I mean, especially in our world, when you mention creative industries, a lot of people really don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. And so, can you talk a little bit about just what the program takes you through in general?
Absolutely. It is a 1-year, 12-month professional master's program, full-time, although we do have usually a percentage of the student body that does it part-time, and in that case, it ends up being 2 years for most people. Northwestern is on a quarter system, so we have 4 quarters, each of 10 weeks of duration, fall, winter, spring, and then the summer is 8 weeks of duration. We have classes in Evanston fall, winter, and spring, and then the summer is a time in which students do either one of 3 things. They do an internship, they do a applied project, or they do a thesis with supervision. We continue running classes, but students are spread out geographically. So what that means is that the classes are online in the summer. It's always been before the pandemic, because again, people were spread out everywhere.
Right.
The first 3 quarters of the fall, winter, spring have a series of core classes and elective classes that take you through a combination of the essential disciplines of leadership and focus classes on the creative enterprises. And for us, we are a very interdisciplinary program. The creative enterprises run the gamut of anything from film and entertainment to music, video games, performing arts like dance, theater, etc., fine arts, galleries, museums, so on and so forth. We believe that each of these disciplines have a unique focus, but there are underlying dynamics that cut across all of them. And that's why we have developed this program in a very interdisciplinary fashion. And in that sense, the combination that it is very interdisciplinary is not so non-profit arts management, or it's not media management, right? It's everything. And that it is a 1-year program make it very unique. When we launched, we had a small cohort the first time. Now we are 4 to 5 times bigger. And that's where we want to be in terms of student body. Now we have 68 students. So it's a program that, because of its size, which is what I call a small, medium-sized program, allows for individualized instruction, yet a scale where you can do lots of things in terms of mixing different people into different groups, and have electives with enough number of people so that they can have a lot of diversity in the classroom. of experiences, trajectories, interests, positionalities, etc.
And the people that have come out of the program, has there been a trend of what they get into? Are they did they start their own businesses, or are they, do they kind of go into specific fields that they were studying? You know, what's the trend in terms of, you know, okay, I've got this amazing degree from Northwestern, you know, I'm going to head in this direction. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So entrepreneurship has always been an important part of the program. We have a class devoted to that, and we utilize all of the resources that Northwestern has for people who have an entrepreneurial bent, to connect with other people, to connect with funders, to develop their ideas, etc. I would say the following, that the pattern is no pattern. So we have anywhere from people who start their own companies to
Right.
people who work for some of the largest corporations in the sector, from Alphabet, that is Google's parent company, to Disney, right?
Right.
The other interesting thing is that most people come having had some experience, or an education in one particular discipline, like theater management, or experience being an agent in Hollywood, etc. And they normally want to deepen their knowledge within the sector in general, and within their discipline in particular, with an eye to progressing in their careers in their discipline. But I would say 40 to 50% of students at the end of the program pivot to a completely different discipline within the creative enterprises, as a result of having been exposed systematically to the wider gamut. So I remember somebody in the second cohort who was an entrepreneur in theater in the Chicagoland area, who wanted to, do that at a sort of regional or national scale. Now works in Disney for content production. I remember another student who wanted to have a career in cultural heritage institutions, in museums, who now works in marketing at Google. I could run, the gamut, and it's super exciting about the program, right? And the network of opportunities that brings to people.
That's fantastic. I love the cultural heritage to a marketer at Google. I'll be honest, I'm someone that actually has looked at the program a couple times.
Right.
Who is exactly in that position where I have a lot of experience, in the music industry, and looking at expanding the network and learning more, and doing a deeper dive. So it's really great that you have these programs available for people to continue the work, continue their own education, and like you said, to pivot or have exposure to different things. If like, oh, I really want to go this route. I think that makes a career very exciting.
Glad to hear.
To transition to some of the work that you've been doing, can you talk a little bit about your work and your book Abundance? It sounds very interesting to me, and I think I'm just curious what it's about. I mean, in my just understanding how digital media works, and how there is an absolutely overabundance of content and things out there, and how that affects human existence, and how it affects us on a daily life, and kind of what that means for us. I'm just curious, what is the book, and what is the research that's been done?
Absolutely. So Abundance came out with Oxford University Press in 2021. It's a result of a 5-year process. The first 22 months were devoted to the actual research, and the research was 158 interviews with people from all walks of life, all positionalities, age groups, anything from a doorman to an astronomer, and anything in between. And I combined that with a survey of digital entertainment and news consumption. Then the other 28 months or so were devoted to the analysis and the writing. And the focus is trying to understand what is the experience of living in a world with more information than ever before in the history
Mm,
of humanity. Ever before. This is not the first time in history where society has experienced a sudden leap in the amount of information. That happened in antiquity, that happened in the Middle Ages, that in the late Middle Ages in particular, that happened in the Renaissance with the printing press, and that happened in the Enlightenment, the 18th century. So part of what I try to do in the book is look at these other instances in history, right? Draw upon what we know happened then to try to understand what is similar now and what is different now in terms
mm,
of this massive leap. Because really this amount of information that we get through social media, through the web, through mobile, through my smartwatch, etc., it's really of the past 25 years, right?
right.
Give or take, which historically is not a huge period of time for society to adapt to. So in the book, I try to understand essentially how people process this in their daily lives, right? What information means to them, what kinds of things they do, and what routines combine the different small practices and how that affects how do they get news, how do they get entertainment, and how they manage social media and mobile devices, right? And how that affects self, friends, family, and work.
Yeah. Yeah, this is this is something that I think about a lot, on a daily basis of, how, my kids are affected by it. I keep we keep screens away from our kids. They're both under 5. How much of my usage of the phone and TV and screens and the amount, and also I'm always curious about the amount of information that I consume, but what is the amount of information I remember? you know and that's something that when you're scrolling, it's great to see all these things, but what is it that actually I am absorbing, is the question. So sounds like a very interesting book. So I'm going to put just the website below. You can check out what Pablo's doing. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was this Latinx digital media
Mhm.
organization that you started. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, the Center for Latinx Digital Media is something I founded at Northwestern in September. We launched in September of 2020. It was in the works for quite some time before then. It is an academic initiative where we are trying to host events that we host every week, every Thursday, open online conversations with colleagues who are Latinx and or Latin American, doing research on issues having to do with digital media. We have a wonderful talk today by a colleague at the University of Colorado that I invite everybody who hasn't registered yet and is interested to join us.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to showcase the great research that Latinx, Latino, Latina people are doing in the States, and also colleagues from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
As a way of building community. The Latino population, Latinx population in the US is close to 20% now, and there are 650 million people living in Latin America, and another 30 million or so either US Latinos or Latin Americans living in other parts of the world. So total population is probably 750 to 100 million. So part of what we're trying to do is to build community through sharing knowledge. We also do research, and we are going to develop a series of educational programs, courses, etc. at Northwestern. It is an acknowledgement of the growth of the US Latino population, and also trying to explore its connections with the people in Latin America. There are two separate groups, but there are lots of connections historically and contemporaneously, and that's part of what we're trying to do. It has grown massively. Our seminars, for instance, during the first year, were attended by people from 45 countries.
Wow.
The beauty of the world of information abundance is
Right.
that you can host this and people can join from all over. And we have a YouTube channel, so if you miss the seminar, you can go on the YouTube channel, and we put all of them there, and you can watch them there. We know that people teaching in different universities have used different seminars in their classrooms, etc. It's a way of showcasing, building community, and spreading the word.
Yeah, that's incredible. I founded a festival with a group called Future Roots out of Chicago, and it's called Latinx. And basically, it's looking at kind of second generation Latinx, kids who are making music that is kind of honoring the traditions of where their parents are from or grandparents are from, but infusing more modern sounds into it. And there's just kind of this really fascinating cross-cultural connections and amazing sounds, really. And it's exciting to witness that. I feel like that is the beauty of innovation and of community and cultural community and kind of learning about what's out there. Well, Pablo, I could talk to you all day. There's lots of things that, that you're doing that are really interesting. I appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us. Everyone, I'm going to put, again, just the website. If you're interested in the program, check out Northwestern, check out, what they're doing with the creative enterprises. It's a really interesting program, one that I'm interested in as well. Also with the Latinx digital media and his book coming out. Pablo's building a lot of really interesting things and talking about stuff that's relevant for all of us. So Pablo, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me in the show. And if anybody wants to connect, you can look me up on my website and I'll reply to your email.
Excellent. All right, Pablo, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
There you have it, everyone. Pablo Boczkowski from Northwestern University. Who is doing the research and the work of kind of, our current landscape. The book that he's writing about sounds very interesting. How are we going to progress with all this information? What is this doing to our society? Also, he's the faculty director, of the actual Master of Science in Leadership for Creative Enterprises. It's a long name, but it's a really interesting program. I've looked it up multiple times. Definitely go and check that out. Next week, we will have Jack Kay from Tex Watt, who's building interesting amplifiers for guitars. My name is Daniel Crane. I am the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. Grateful to be with all of you today. Wishing you a very great week. And let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you next time. Take care.